All right, it is stating we are live. Bear with us, folks. I'm going to go ahead and kick off this live on Instagram because it does seem as though we get a few views even on there. I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. Okay. Oh, my sound's down. See? There we go. Some human flaws. Let's crank this up. Welcome to Unmuzzled chat, folks. I hope you're having an awesome day. I couldn't express the excitement I have having Amber here today. I mean, just the brief summaries and little bits of shares that she had regarding God and the inspiration and the evidence of the fruit she is bearing on her platforms, everything she's exposing, the light she's exposing, the solutions, the amazing patriots she's even attracted to have on her show, her podcast. Holy smokes. She just recently even had an interview with Ivan Ranklin, and the conversation was very powerful. I challenge the listeners here on Unmuzzled chat to click the links below. We'll plug them, so stay tuned and support this warrior woman, Amber. So she obviously has a very big heart, and I just love all that you're doing. So I want to welcome you, Amber, to Unmuzzled chat. How are you today?
It is such an honor and privilege that you reached out and wanted to have me on your show. So thank you for the invite. I appreciate that. I sent this out to some of my people, so hopefully they'll tune in and listen and subscribe to your channel. So if anybody on my channels are listening, please support our friend at Unmuzzled chat.
You are so sweet. It's literally about the outcomes. Sure. I do not have a famine mentality regarding listeners. If anyone, in fact, you speak and touch their hearts, like it's a loyalty sense to the cause. We're looking for solutions. We're looking for outcomes more so than personal. I mean, I'm committing everything that's coming to any blessings to this platform to the cause. You know, it's not about wealth at this point. Once there's that shift within an individual that you start valuing your spiritual life and death over your mortal life and death, it's just, you kind of become naturally part of the class of the unpurchasable in this existence. And what a blessing that is. It's just like you're able to walk in peace, strength, clarity. It's just gifted. And as challenging as things are becoming, there's just great opportunity and great excitement to show up to whatever capacity with all the flaws. I show up each and every day. So enough about me. I want to really tap into how long have you been doing your podcast, or do you actually classify it as a show, or?
You know, you could classify it either way. I went to journalism school and I studied journalism because I wanted to hold the government accountable to the people, the quote unquote fourth branch of the government. And upon graduating and during my whole time in journalism school, I networked like crazy with everybody in the Valley where I live. And so I went to all kinds of events, all kinds of, what do I call them? I can't think of the word off the top of my head, but I went to a lot of different places where broadcasters were. Wow. And I would hand out my resume. I would talk to them. I wanted everyone to know who I was. So when I graduated, I could get a degree or a job right away. And the unusual thing about my situation is usually upon graduating, you have to go to a small town and start working and building your career and your resume. I got hired right away here in Phoenix, Arizona. And I told God, I said, hey, God, close every door you don't want me to go into and just open the one door you want me to go. Because again, I had been networking like crazy with all kinds of stations, TV, radio, and I wanted a job. This is my passion. I've been wanting to broadcast since 4 years old. I had a show in high school. It was like that back then it was public access and people could get a channel and stuff. And so I had a channel and I started broadcasting, and that's when the love really took off. And I'm like, well, I want to do this for a career. I'm in high school and now I know exactly. I mean, I kind of always knew, but that kind of solidified it. So yeah, so I got on an AM station. We had two stations that we ran out of our office, and then I quit when I had my children, and then God said, start your show back up. I'm like, what? My show? You mean I haven't broadcasted in 9 years. No one's going to listen to me. And God's like, you're going to do it. So I kind of argued with God for a minute, but he ultimately won. And it's just been a blessing ever since.
Thank you, Amber, for answering that call. I can see the impacts you're having through the content you're creating, the interactions that are happening on your platforms. And that is nothing other than a great blessing to all of God's children. It is no secret that the devil is sitting on a throne in this existence, pulling the wool over even a lot of Christians' eyes as though they're serving God. And he is a God. Jesus spoke of him being a prince of this world, a God of this world, able to perform miracles in this existence. But there is a big contrast between the fruits that he himself is providing us in this existence and the fruits of our loving creator God. And it's hard to distinguish at times. I myself have fallen guilty and fallen prey to evil's tactics. It can be very alluring and attractive, and under the guise of love, even more so achieve the most nefarious and evil and harmful things. It's a great challenge, but it's lights like you that help fire back up the discernment, the rational thinking. So now that you have had, and I want to dive a little more into your story as well, but real quick, now that you've had guest after guest, exposed threat after threat after threat, what do you suppose right here, right now, are the most crucial topics to cover, to bring to light?
That's a great question, and not so easily answered because every institution has been compromised.
Right.
A long time ago, when I was still working at the radio station, God told me, I was reading Daniel chapter 10, and he said, the prince of Persia is over your nation. What that meant was a very strong demonic force. And we know through Ephesians and different scriptures in the Bible that there is a spiritual battle, and there's princes and principalities and rulers of darkness in high places, the Bible tells us. And our weapons are not carnal, but mighty through God through the pulling down of strongholds. So we know that there is a spiritual battle going on. And I got revelation of that long time ago, and I didn't even realize it. And then all of a sudden lately, every podcaster I turn on, it's a spiritual battle. Well, I was already known about that in early 2000. I did a show with a friend of mine named Clay Clark. Wow. And we talked about a man who his name is Kim Clement, and he heard, he heard a lot from God. He would sit and have time with God. And I think the reason why some of us hear from God more than others is because they diligently take time and they sit and they just wait. And I'm not really good with that. So the times I hear from God, sometimes it's a supernatural download during my show. Or if I'm in a Bible study at that moment, like he'll talk to me. I do pray all the time. So sometimes God drops things in my spirit, but I wish I could be someone like Kim Clement. He just would dedicate a lot of time to try and hear from God. So anyways, I came across this video of him. I'm going to use the word prophesy. And he started talking about the same thing God revealed to me back in anywhere between like 2007 to 2010, 11, somewhere in there. I can't remember exactly. And he started talking about the Prince of Persia being over our nation, but he got a deeper revelation. So I would I highly encourage any of you, if you're interested in that, to go to that particular show. And what is it called? Let me see what it's called really quick. My friend Clay Clark is on that show with me. So if you see Clay Clark, that's the episode.
Is this on Rumble?
Yeah, it's right here. It's on all my platforms, but yeah, right here on Rumble. So go check that out. And you asked me specifically, I only wanted to say that because it's very important that we know who's in charge right now. And the person, the being that's in charge that God revealed to me is the Prince of Persia, dark demonic force. And this spiritual force has taken over slowly every institution. We have the medical industrial complex. We have the military industrial complex. We have the censorship industrial complex. We have the education industrial complex. We have the Hollywood industrial complex, or the media industrial complex. Everything has been taken over. And really, communism has been really the weapon that they've been choosing to usher in. Now, If you watch the Reagan movie, or you grew up during Ronald Reagan, I remember him. I was young, but I do remember him saying, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear that wall down." I remember watching Peter Jennings during the time when the Berlin Wall fell down. And Ronald Reagan was trying to fight communism in Hollywood. When he was an actor, and then he went and he was in charge of the SAG, that's the actors union, and he was fighting against communism back then. Wow. And I think he put a dent to it, but it didn't end. And communism hasn't ended. It's just kind of changed forms. If you read books like Rules for Radicals, you're going to see how the other side operates and how they will twist things around, and they'll say, they'll accuse you of doing something that they're doing themselves, or they will cause an issue so that they can be the ones to fix the problem, i.e. the border right now. So there's so many issues. What is the biggest issue? When the Lord told me about the Prince of Persia over our nation, I felt that there was going to be an end to his reign, and I think we're going to see that in our time. Yeah. But the other thing that really pressed upon me in that moment was the sexual immorality of our nation. Yeah. And I started especially wanting to pray against pornography and child trafficking. And I've been working on bills here in my state on child trafficking. I've been exposing some of that with just stories that people could tell me about what has happened to them personally, either being trafficked or having their children trafficked from them. The thing is that every dictator does is they get the youth, because if they can get the youth and mold the minds of the youth, then the next generation is easily. So we have to be very careful with our children. They're gifts from God, and they're trying to destroy the family unit. So you asked me, what is the most important topic? I will have to say the family. Yeah. I was learning in sociology class. I had this great professor, and I can't think of his name, and I hate that I don't remember his name, but he was a great professor, and he said, if you want to destroy your country, you destroy the family unit, because the family is the makeup of society. And if you destroy the family unit, you destroy society. And if you listen to Karl Marx and you read his writings, he wants to abolish basically the family unit. He does not believe in that family unit. Okay, so anything that God puts together, the enemy wants to do the opposite of. And what does God say? He created marriage in the beginning in Genesis, Adam and Eve, and he said the two will become one flesh. And then he tells them, go and multiply and fill the earth. He also told that to Noah, go and multiply and fill the earth. Yet we have people in our government. We have bureaucrats that are non-elected. If you really listen to Bill Gates, he will tell you we're going to use vaccines as a way to depopulate. You have to listen to them. They'll easily go past it, but they'll tell you what they're doing. Yes. And so they want to depopulate, which is the opposite of what God says in the Bible, go and multiply. I believe that we are following a God who's very smarter than us. And if he could create Earth and he wants us to fill and populate it, then he can make an Earth that's sustainable for all life, on 100%. Earth, and that we don't have to take it on our on our shoulders to undo what God told us to do, because I'm trusting that we have a creator that's going to sustain it.
That's a great
But yet
point.
the enemy tells us that we need to depopulate. So there's a depopulation agenda. They want to kill the babies in the womb.
Yes.
My message to all the women, because I suffer for infertility.
Mhm.
What the other side doesn't tell women is that you're going to experience, when you have a baby, a love like none other. There is no other love than a love from a parent to a child. You would go to hell and back for this being. There's nothing that will separate you from the love of that child. Your heart overwhelms and explodes with love. You can't even contain it. Wow. And the love I have for my husband is so different than the love I have for a child. And I think it's meant to be that way so we can have just a slight understanding of how much God loves us, because he sent his son to die for us, and he's going to deal with the Prince of Persia. I just know he is. And so I think the family unit is the most important thing that we need to address and protect the minds of the children, protect them from the adults trafficking. I mean, come on, P. Diddy, my conspiracy hat's going to go on for a second. Why now? Why is he now getting exposed? What's going on behind the scenes? We don't know. Who did he piss off in the high ranks of the elites that now they're going after him? I mean, I don't know, but there's more to the story than what we're being told.
Yes.
But just on the surface level, you can see how disgusting him as an adult is. You can see how disgusting the Epsteins were. You can see how disgusting the Clintons were for going to the Epstein Island and all the trafficking.
100%.
And our current government right now is involved in trafficking children. There was over 300,000 children, I believe, that went missing under the watch of Kamala Harris, who was put
nearing 400,000, which is
yes, and that's even the ones we know about.
Right.
So it's the children, it's the family unit that I believe are the most important. But everything's so important because it all ties in. It all ties in. But if I were to pick one, which is hard to do, I would say that's the one.
Well, wow. So many truth bombs. And when you really hone in on just that, it does expose so much. Obviously, there's many different angles of attack that's diminishing us. I mean, I could see even in my own life, and it's important that we personalize these things to properly acknowledge things, to fend off, to gain the resilience and the connection, the spiritual, and the gifts from our loving creator, God. We all have different roles to play. We all have responsibilities. And there's this great disconnect right now where we're not like evil has effectively preyed upon our weaknesses individually, and the sexualization, perversions, the control of information, the censorship, all of this. It is wild for me to even reflect back on my walk as to how blind, how much I drank the Kool-Aid, so to speak. I was being manipulated and blindly entrusting in all these institutions evil has infiltrated to my own detriment for many, many, many years. And when now, even looking back, there were so many individuals throughout history sounding the alarm. And it just, how did I not see it then? Now, right. But now there's a great blessing with the overreach of evil playing its hand with the pandemic and so many things. It's clear there's a mass awakening, but there's still a great disconnect. It would be nice to hone in on some of the things that have effectively had me disconnected, where you just mentioned. So tell us how did that happen, you suppose, for me, and what's perpetually, continually keeping people disconnected to their detriments, not their benefits. And then I think we'll lead into some more so of the solutions that we could grasp, tangible things we could do, steps we could take.
It's called the media industrial complex. If you capture the media, whether it's music, TV, music, movies, you capture people.
Social media platforms.
That too. It goes into that too. And so people have the illusion of choice when it comes to media. Back in the 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, they only had 3 channels really. And it was so easy to capture media back then because it was only very few channels. So people think now they can go to all these channels and they have choice. And
Right.
because we know our Constitution says we have freedom of the press, that's why I wanted to be a part of the media. We learn in journalism school what a state-run media looks like. And then we would say, aren't we glad we don't have a state-run media? Well, the thing is, we do. Only 6 companies own all the media in the world, or in our country at least. And George Soros is right now in the process of buying more and more radio stations, which is the last frontier as far as I'm concerned, because I come from radio, the last frontier of freedom of speech, freedom of the press, basically, because most, not all, because we've had our clear channels and we had different big conglomerates buy up a whole bunch of little tiny radio stations, but there were still enough independent stations out there that you could, without unless the owner forbade you from saying it, which was not my experience. We had free speech radio station where I worked at. You could say what you wanted to say. And that now with George Soros coming along, he wants to take even that away. And you talk about censorship. I've been a victim of censorship. It sounds like you have too. They shut me down on all the big platforms. And then if you go back and you try to look at stuff within Google, things disappear. Things that I went back to try to find are gone. They scrubbed the internet. So the mind control is so powerful because everybody thinks, well, if all these stations and all these places I go for media is telling me this one particular thing, it must be true, which I understand that thinking, right? And I don't hear anything else. So this has to be true. And they condition us to believe that. Then when you add social media, there's an organization called Cambridge Analytica. And what they do is they compile all the things we've ever uploaded to all the social media sites, and they create an avatar. And basically what they say is they know us better than we know ourselves. And that's a really scary thought to think. And what they do is they keep giving us touch points, meaning they keep throwing information here and there in front of our faces with our computers, our tablets, and our smartphones, our TVs, even overhead at the grocery store. One of my last episodes, well, it's actually coming up tomorrow, talks about, because this is live, talks about just going to Kroger grocery store and how the propaganda of the vaccines, and I show that on that episode. It's slight, it's not in your face, but if you don't recognize that propaganda, then you become, I mean, I can't say I've never been a victim of propaganda, because I was. But once you kind of unsee things, you can't go back. It's the Matrix. The Matrix is exactly what we're going through. They kind of told us in Hollywood how it is. When you're plugged into the Matrix, you don't know that you're not really living your life. You don't know that you're in a pod being controlled by a machine and something visually stimulating your brain to give you images and pictures, and you don't know that you're not captured.
The money behind this infrastructure is unfathomable, and the actual impacts it's having. I'm so glad you're voicing it. On my personal device, CVS has been weaponized and has been continually. It's like it's more than once a month over the last few months stating, "Hi, James, double up on defense this season with flu and COVID vaccines. Walk in or book your shot at," and it has the link. And I've legit sent, it's just a whole, AI system. It's not like I'm responding to anyone, but, I can't help but to, over my dead body, you keep your murderous shots the heck away from me and my loved ones. And, it constantly, we got to see past, we got to acknowledge like the connections, this big web the evil has literally built out to our detriment. We've been so blindly and trusting in Western medicine and vaccinations, and it's wild. Like, I didn't want the vaccine child schedule to be a bad thing. I didn't want it to be.
Right.
But after the whole pandemic, and then you actually start questioning things, and you see the incentivization, you see the money and who's it going to, and these individuals, and then you actually absorb like Bill Gates' threat, even though he, masquerades it very well, and it's like you put pretty wrapping paper and a nice bow on top by, hey, if we do a really good job through health services and vaccination, we could lower the population by 10 or 15%. I mean, this is mass genocide, folks. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean, common sense will tell you, that doesn't mean that's going to save lives. That means it's diminishing, it's taking lives, it's murdering lives. So it has been a great blessing, because when you start looking into the actual ingredients, the actual outcomes, it is damning.
Yeah.
And it goes
I have
to show
a lot of information on my website. If anyone wants to go to the resource page on my website, theinformatio.com, hit the resource page and go to childhood vaccines. I have posted the things that I've been finding as I find them.
Great.
And I would just encourage you to just take a look at that. I mean, I'm not telling you to believe what I'm believing, but at least see the other side, and then you decide for yourself what you want to believe on the vaccines. So it's theinformatio.com resource page, childhood vaccines.
Is there a link through one of these here?
Yeah, any of my shows will you can find a link to my show page, my website, and then under the website is the resource tab. So you'd have to scroll down. That was
we'll definitely find it. There was one link in the email. Is it the productions.com? This one didn't populate.
Yeah. But that one is my audio podcast, like a pro course.
So the emphasis, folks, we cannot emphasize enough, because the reality of the mass population, even right here in this country, and we got to understand, in other countries, Rumble, you can't even access. I recently had a friend visit, Paris, and couldn't access Rumble. Now, there's VPNs and certain things you could utilize to still access free speech platforms, but these governments, it is so tyrannical. If we can't effectively question things and have our First Amendment right, our God-given right, then evil is becoming more and more effective on diminishing our health, because we can't see past what is actually good for us, what has actually been weaponized from the sprays, the frequencies, the centralization and poisoning of food and water. It's literally taking us down. But we're not transitioning. We're not taking this singular threat serious enough. That's why I can't praise you enough, Amber, with what you're doing, what you've sourced. You have amazing episodes. Your engagement is top notch. I actually look forward to upping my resilience to follow in your path. I strive to be as articulate and intelligent in ways as you. The fact, you are just such a wealth of information. You retain a lot more than currently I'm able, from names, from individuals tied to these organizations, the actual government. And maybe I'm here to just cheerlead you. Maybe that's
I'll take it. Skills. But you see, I shared my website with you. If you wanted to add that to the screen, this is where I have my database. It's at the bottom. You'll see it.
Right.
It's just my resource page. Yeah, if you look at the bottom on StreamYard, right next to my face.
Oh,
you have to stop
right there. I could just add you. Okay, let me remove this one, and boom.
Go. Now, this is the childhood vaccine website information. So you go to the resource page, you go to the childhood vaccine, you're going to see a lot of information. This is a white paper from Henry Kissinger. It was talking about how they're going to depopulate the earth, and they're going to use women and their fertility to depopulate the earth. This is the FDA package insert. I highly recommend people taking a look at it. Definitely look at 13.1 when you look at the vaccine inserts, because they're going to tell you what they're not testing for. For this particular vaccine, it's the tetanus, hepatitis, and diphtheria vaccine. They didn't test to see if they cause cancer, cause your genes to change, or cause infertility. So if they're not testing those three major things, what exactly are they testing for? And so if you just go in here and search, I won't keep it on this topic because there's so much to talk about and it's very controversial because people have been so indoctrinated that vaccines.
It shouldn't be. That's what it is. It shouldn't be. We've been indoctrinated. We've been blindly entrusting. Like the simple fact that these parents are more so concerned on the ingredients of the Cheerios they're feeding their children and not even questioning any singular of the 80 shots by 18 or whatever it's up to now. That's absurd. That is absurd. And
but going back to, I'm going to pull this image up if I can find it.
Yeah.
The illusion of choice. Going back to the media industrial complex, I told you that there was six companies that run all the media, and above them is the globalists that are above them to control them. So here's this. I'm going to see if I can share this with you just so you can, it's going to be kind of small for your guests or your viewers to see, but I think it's an important thing if they can even see it at all. I just shared it with you. The illusion of choice. So you have these six companies that are controlling everything that you see. And above them, you have the globalists, you have the Bilderbergers, you have the Trilateral Commission, you have the Council of Foreign Relations,
BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street.
So you have all of those on top of these six. So they get their directions, their marching orders from someone a lot higher than them. And then they give you the illusion that you have all these places to go for information when it's all being given by the same six people. And then above them is the globalists. And I know that sounds so crazy for middle America. I get it because we've all believed in the apple pie and hot dog America where, we have freedoms. But when you really look at what they've done, in 2020, they took our right to vote away. In 2022, they've done it again. Yes. They forced us to get vaccinated. If you didn't get vaccinated, you lost your job. What about my body, my choice? Like there was no choice in the COVID narrative at all. You were forced to stay home. You weren't allowed to socialize. Your neighbor would tell on you. And that was so scary. The mind control. This is how they did it back in World War II. So if you want to learn, can we learn something from history?
Yeah.
How they learn, whatever the dictators in World War II did is what the people are doing to us now. The globalists are doing to us now. And we have just a lot of people controlled by money. So they're getting paid a lot of money to betray their fellow countrymen. And it's really gross and disgusting, but they think there's going to be a seat at the table. And if you listen to anyone from the globalist organizations, you'll hear the phrase useful idiots. And that's pretty much what these people will end up being if the takeover of the world happens. And why do you think we have an open border right now? We have an open border, and I need to play this clip for you. Can I play this clip for you?
100%. I might need to change an audio setting, but that's okay.
Okay. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to try and share this with you because it just popped up today as I saw this and it really ticked me off, and I want to talk about why it ticked me off.
That feel that they're at capacity. Communities around the country that have legal immigrants, many we're at capacity. And many feel like the government has said to them, well, adapt. Sit down, be quiet. This is how it is. What would a Harris administration do to those communities who've taken in many legal immigrants, but are at capacity?
Well, first of all, we do have a immigration system, and it needs to be fixed. And if we take a step back, months ago, some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress came together with others, proposed a border security bill that would have put 1,500 new border agents on the border to help those hardworking border agents who are there right now working around the clock. Would have put more money into stem fentanyl, which is killing Americans around the country in devastated communities. We would have put more resources into our ability to prosecute transnational criminal organizations, which in my career I've prosecuted. Donald Trump got word of the bill, realized it was going to fix a problem he wanted to run on, and told him to kill the bill, don't put it up for a vote. He killed a bill that would have actually been a solution because he wants to run on a problem instead of fixing the problem.
Okay,
And that's part of what needs to be addressed. And my pledge is that when elected president, if the American people will have me, I will bring that bill back and I will sign it into law. And we need a comprehensive plan that includes what we need to do to fortify not only our border, but deal with the fact that we also need to create pathways for people to earn citizenship.
Okay. I want to pause that or stop sharing. The video's over because she said so much there, and you really need to think critically right here. Okay.
Yes.
She says that there is a problem with our immigration system. She was a senator, and so was Joe Biden for many years.
Right.
Donald Trump was only in office for 4 years. Compared to how long both Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were in office, 4 years was nothing. If immigration was such an issue, like the laws that we have in place right now, and my dad's an immigrant and he came here legally. If there was such a problem, she had plenty of time sitting as a senator to fix the issue.
Right.
And she did not. And so she knows there's no problem with the issue. Could we tweak some stuff? Sure. But if there was a fundamental issue with our immigration system, she would have fixed it. But she didn't. So she's using it as a talking point because there was nothing in her mind to 100%. Fix. Because if it was really a problem in her mind, she would have made an effort to fix it.
Right.
I'm a citizen in Arizona, and I've been trying to make an effort to fix problems with trafficking in my state. My bill hasn't passed all the way, but at least I tried. Right.
Right.
The other thing she says is she says that there was this bill and Donald Trump killed it. He never killed the bill. And frankly, most of that bill had to do with Ukraine anyways, and very little had to do with here in the border issue. So there's a lot to unpack there because there's no what she said. She had the chance right now to close our border, to stop the trafficking, and she didn't. And oops, I'm playing that. I didn't mean to. So here's the thing. The reason why they have an open border is because they want globalism. And with globalism, you can't have nationalism. You can't have a love for your country. If you listen to any of the videos from citizens from Springfield, Ohio, they talk about their culture as being destroyed. The people in UK that were rioting, and they're not allowed to say on social media about the riots, otherwise they go to jail. Is that freedom or is that tyranny? No. That's tyranny. That's not freedom. And the Democrats are saying the same thing. The governor Newsom just signed a bill into law banning those fake AI videos that are hilarious. He said you can't have those in California. That's a violation of your First Amendment right? 100%. So they want to take your freedom away, your speech away. They want to take your nationalism away. They want to take your culture away. And the only way to do that is from an open border. If you don't have a border, you don't have a country. And if you have all these people flooding into your country, you no longer have a culture. And that's the plan. That is the plan because they want globalism, a one world government, new world order. George. Clips of him being the president and speaking about the new world order. Bill Clinton, the new world order, aka the globalist agenda. Sorry, I can
tell them, Amber. No, tell them those are such great truth bombs. I'll be unmuzzled. I'll rip my muzzle off. She is catering. Okay, she's to the same slave masters. Let's be real about it. To the same slave masters that the talking heads are catering to. These social medias, all the weaponization of these organizations have the same slave masters. None of this. She's not speaking for herself. She's fulfilling what she is being told, right? So as far as now trying to show up and masquerade as to issues that the American people want addressed, it's lies. Okay, herself. Let's say for what. 'Cause 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 ' we're a constitutional republic, but she constantly puts out democracy. Trump's a threat to democracy. Everyone else other than who's catering to these slave masters is a threat to their democracy. Well, the very definition of a democracy is a majority rules, says the candidate that has had 0 votes. No one had a choice. No one. All the Democrats, anyone. That in and of itself proves this empire of lies. And they're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes as though they're going to do something, as though they now care. See through their lies, gain the discernment, gain the rational. Like, what happened to discernment? Once again, that emphasizes and shows the importance of sourcing and vetting your information. Fact, like the majority are still on YouTube. The majority still are on censored platforms. We aren't waking up. We aren't absorbing the threats fast enough, because I fear.
If I could say one other thing.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I did want to say one other thing.
Yes.
She is the current vice president, and Joe Biden put her in charge of the border. So when she says, I'm going to do it when I'm president, how do we believe her when she didn't do it as a senator? She didn't do it as a vice president.
Boom.
Why would anyone believe her that she's going to do it as president? It goes against everything that she is supposed to be doing, which is a one world government, no sovereignty, no nation state. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That was beautiful. That's a mic drop. What else needs to be said? But that's the disconnect. There's such a disconnect that people aren't using their critical thinking. They're not using their rational, and they're just absorbing the talking heads. They're absorbing the same ones, safe and effective, and all these other talking points. We could spend the rest of the day talking about the empire of lies and all the lies, and yet no accountability, no proper apology. Like, it's, you follow the money. It's not that complicated. You start building out, like, I view the plandemic, scamdemic is a smoking gun. When you genuinely start critical thinking, asking the questions, looking into the data, following the money, you see the big spider. And then it's actually disgusting, because when it comes to those individuals and P. Diddy and freaking, there's a way they're even twisting the narrative of that, where people are more so just being entertained than asking the right questions, looking at the bigger picture, right? And when you connect the same individuals to Epstein and what they did to him, to protect themselves, I mean, my goodness, think of the former president, Bill Clinton, and it's no secret that they had that major painting of Bill Clinton, a former president of the United States of America, in a dress. What does that say to you? Let's absorb it. The globalists literally made, there's certain verbiage I'd like to use to connect this dot. A former president there, blank. Okay? So grasp that. The most prolific human child sex traffickers going down. We have the books, the lists, we have the footage. We know we do. And yet not one of their clients are arrested. This is egregiously unacceptable. And what this exposes is who they're worshiping. How demonic, how evil. Why are we sitting back as Christians allowing evil to infiltrate our country to such a level? So there is hope with all this being exposed. If we support patriots, warriors such as Amber, such as so many individuals that are bringing this to light, we could gain the proper momentum. You mentioned you were creating bills. Are you able to forward these out to individuals? I mean, how can we get more organized to holding our state officials accountable? Like, if we properly assembled everyone in power positions from state levels to government levels this is how I view it, Amber. Simple as this. let's put any leadership. Here's leadership. Here's the globalists. Here's the people. They're getting more pressure, more incentivization, more bribe, more threats from the globalists than we, the people. We've handed over the keys to our leaders. The power truly lies within the people. We outnumber them. That's why they want to disarm us. That's why they want to pit us against each other. That's why they want to control us and diminish our light and poison us to where we don't effectively hold them account, because we start stripping these supposed leaders that we didn't elect, that were selected by this. It's simple. Once we properly assemble, and it doesn't even take a vast majority of this country. It could be potentially only 10% of the country, but it would need to be a highly engaged, percentage, or we need to gain enough. And when we're not there right now. We need to get there to ensure the future of our children, our families, rule out the corruption, change the trajectory of this country, which will shift the trajectory of the whole world. And there's so many other countrymen of other countries that are banking on Americans standing up.
Yeah.
And because they've already lost it, and they see once it's done here, then full tyranny they're faced with. No choice. Anything.
Hillary Clinton already came out with the video last week or 2 weeks ago that talked about the same thing. If you are disinformation, meaning you don't walk the line that we want to walk, we should arrest you. And then Gavin Newsom put that bill in, and it came from the UK. And I said to my people, I said, as goes Europe, so goes America. Watch what they're doing. They are jailing people for posting on social media their opinion. And
I demand we arrest the individuals that infringe upon our First Amendment. Period. Full stop. Anyone. I don't understand, from the social media talking points to even the talking heads themselves. It isn't mainstream media anymore. It's lost that, which is great. But anyone that threatens our First Amendment should be behind bars at a minimum. Period. Full stop.
And I can tell you, Donald Trump has not said any of those things or passed those kind of bills. He closed the border. He wanted to protect us. Right now, we have Venezuelan gang members taking over housing developments. We have M13 taking over states. I mean, the cartel is in every state in the United States. So it goes back to your first question. What's the most important? And I think the family unit's important. When you have a mother and a father and children that love each other and honor God, that's the foundation and fabric, just based on my education from my university, that the family unit is the most important unit. Because when you dissolve the family unit,
what's there to fight for?
Destroy society.
Yes.
So us coming together, unity, and that's what I loved. I was able to witness, I was there witnessing the unity of Democrats and Republicans when RFK and Donald Trump joined forces.
Beautiful.
And I was there to see unity, where one really cares about making people healthy, and one really cares about, safety of Americans. And people. These very powerful men are coming together to join forces. So what can we do? What is the solution? Number one, easy solution is pray. Definitely pray. Pray against, pray and protect the kids. At night before I go to bed, I ask the Lord to bring angels to set those kids free that are trapped all over the United States and all over the world, that are trapped as sex slaves, and free them. So I ask the Lord to put his angels around all these children and free them. Go watch The Sound of Freedom. There is a reason that film took so long to come out. Go watch that film. So pray for the children. Pray for our country. I want you to pray that our elections are protected, that God protects our elections. What I have learned through the stolen elections that I never thought before. Elections are a matter of national security. Yes. I never gave it that much weight before 2020. And really, I only
equalizer
recently. When you have the open borders, when Israel is in chaos with all the wars, not only the war, but also the mafia, when you see the whole entire world on fire because of wars or rumors of wars, then you understand that elections are a matter of national security. Whoever occupies the office of the president, Congress, your governor. Those people are in charge. Their primary duty is to protect the citizens of America. And frankly, 3 out of the 4 border states in the southern border are in a dereliction of duty. The president and vice president are in a dereliction of duty right now because they are not doing the job of protecting the homeland.
Treason. Yeah.
So now none of us are protected. All of us are under threat with all the cartel, all the fentanyl that's killing our young people. Yes. The trafficking that's happening to the young kids and even to some adults. I mean, so we often think that prostitution is a choice. I would argue that maybe, but I would also argue that it's a forced thing, that you are forced into prostitution. So we need to pray over our nation for these things. Also, I really highly believe in General Flynn when he says local action creates national impact. And because of him saying that, I got involved locally and I became a precinct committeeman, and you can go to Precinct Strategy, I believe, precinctstrategy.com, and find out how you can become a precinct committeeman and get involved locally, because local action creates national impact. What I do in Arizona is going to affect everybody in the state, because people are across the nation, because they can see what Arizona is doing and how it's working and change things, vice versa. Any state, you name it, it can happen in every state, and it has a trickle up effect. So national impact, what can you do today? What can your 2 feet, your 2 hands, and your mouth do today? And one of the easiest ways to do that is getting involved locally at your precinct level at precinctstrategies.com. I say also inform yourself. There's a lot of sources that I like to go to. I like to go to the Western Journal. I like to go to Gateway Pundit. I like to go to Just the News, the Federalist. I mean, there's a whole bunch of sites out there that will provide really good information. Go check some of that stuff out and start reading it to get informed, because the Bible says, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. We've all had a lack of knowledge because in the media industrial complex, we think, like I just showed you, the illusion of choice. We think we're informed and we're not. So, just check other places out. There's other sites besides that. Just off the top of my head, I can rattle those off and start being informed.
Ooh,
I'm watching a show just like this, the Unmuzzled chat.
Thank you. Well, my goodness. So Rumble, great blessing. X has been liberated to a huge extent, great blessing. Telegram, True Social. So do you actually post on Getter or?
I don't have a Getter account. I barely can keep up with what I have. But Getter's a great one. Getter is a great one. I met the founder of Getter. He's great.
I hear Parler's on a rise again. I don't know if it's questionable. Any other platforms that you see rising up?
Yes, my friend just started a brand new social media freedom of speech platform. It's called Pickaxe, Pickaxe, Pickax.com. And I encourage everyone to get an account there. He's a good podcaster friend of mine too, and he just developed this freedom of speech platform. So that's a great one. Frank Social is a good one. True Social, the X, obviously, Rumble. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I appreciate all that information. The one thing I would like to just bring to people's attention, and I don't want to demonize any individuals that have certain beliefs, anything like that. I just want to be able to question things if in fact someone is causing ill will towards others. And I do see a grave threat through a lot of patriots speaking out on this whole rhetoric of anti-Semitism. And what's wild is I don't see, let's say, Jews being lynched in the streets. I don't see a great threat happening to these individuals, but I've heard specifically from a lot of rabbis that wish ill against all Western nation and individuals and certain races, and they've said it themselves. So I just don't want us to. They've literally, because once again, Evil is very effectively under the guise of biblical doctrine, under the guise of doing good, the most evil and nefarious things. And there's just a lot of red flags going up regarding AIPAC and certain individuals in our Congress and our Senate that have dual allegiance, blind allegiance, and it's just, it does become a question and alarming. But ultimately what it boils down to, I want to end the wars, right? I don't want to see all this like money and our children going over and fighting. Like we've seen it time and time again, from 9/11, from the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan and it, et cetera, et cetera. It just goes on and on. I don't want to see this continue to our demise, and they've effectively manipulated the Americans to get on board, and it's enriching the very elitist individuals that are standing up, the globalists, and infiltrating our government, news organizations. It's all intertwined. So ultimately, I'm like, can we just stop? Can we acknowledge one thing? The corruption right here at home in this nation. We can't effectively show up anywhere else till we rule it out here. Otherwise, we will be manipulated. That's just fact. So let's stop all that rhetoric, blind allegiance. Are you kidding me? God's chosen people based on Jesus Christ's new covenant is anyone who essentially walks and sees Jesus as their Lord and Savior, that paid the ultimate sacrifice. And there's pastors that are using Old Testament for this blind allegiance. And I just don't get it. I believe it's leading a lot of people astray, and it's leading to more death and innocent death. And I don't want that blood on Christians' hands, any of our hands. So we got to rule out the corruption here. But regarding anti-Semitism, it in and of itself, in 38 states and more legislation as we speak, in fact, is getting passed or attempting to be passed, that once again is going to infringe on our abilities to even question things that could lead to imprisonment or death. It's very alarming to me. And I don't want to get into the depths of it, but we got to be able to speak on things, and in order to get to the root of issues, period, and rule out the corruption. That's so, I want to be able to challenge. We got to be able to keep the challenge, like the ability to challenge and keep our First Amendment above all. Because once again, what's more hateful to essentially allow criminal activity or not be able to expose potential criminal activity? I mean, it could even be a good thing. We should be, but any good thing that would now infringe on our First Amendment is no longer a good thing, right? It's not good. So what a blessing, Amber. So we've pulled up. We got, folks, once again, just check in the description, click the links below. Amber is providing a wealth of information, and her clips are more so going viral than Unmuzzled chats. And it's an honor to have her here. It actually breathes light into even my life, seeing your success. And there's more than just Rumble. You even have, I just canceled my screen share. Let's get it reactivated. You have a locals account. This might be something I even need to look into here in the future. So there's a legit way of even funding to magnify all the hard work you're doing right here. I challenge people to look at this. Cancel your freaking Netflix accounts. Stop poisoning yourself and your children with the utter trash that's on there. I get you've developed your favorite shows, this and that, but you could put half of that towards her and then half of that towards standing up let's close the door to Netflix and stand up something more so supporting Angel Studios and other content that we could tune into that has more purity, that will not diminish our spiritual connections and enhance the gifts and the reasons why we're actually here. She brought some powerful truth, the family unit, the children. I don't know what better narrative or godly calling to get behind other than protecting our children. I do want to touch on a bit of the disconnect. Yes, the information, the manipulation is no joke. It's real. We could see the impacts even with the pandemic as to how they effectively stood up a pandemic. It wasn't an epidemic at all. They built it out. There's other things that they've fired up, such as frequency warfare, the spraying of the sky, things of that nature that have been led to a lot of the symptoms defined as COVID. So let's try to get to the root of these issues. But I do want to hone in on how that diminishing has been leading to the disconnect. So, folks, check out Patriot Mobile, or excuse me, check out Bond Charge and the infrared sauna blanket, the Masterpiece tincture, Unchained Wellness Clinic right here in Arizona, pure benefits in aesthetics and wellness. Their MD there is completely awake. She's gone through the remission of her medical indoctrination, and she's furthered her education on behalf of the benefit of all of us. I actually look forward to having her on here in the near future. But to vet even our doctors that are continually practicing medicine and more so getting to the solutions and breathing light and health. When we get health, when we get our mental acuity and clarity back, holy smokes, we've been slowly drip, like we don't even realize, because no one in their right minds and in their best version of themselves would just sit blindly, idly by and allow all this to happen and not get more engaged. Have you personally, Amber, found some things that kind of upped? Maybe you got some tips for me to level up on neurological function, memory, things to that nature. What have you personally found to kind of help detox your body or ramp up nutrition balance, hormonal imbalance, or something along those lines?
I am still on my journey to getting a complete concrete answer to that. But the one thing I can tell you, or the couple things that I've been doing, is I am careful about the products I bring in my home.
Amazing.
Because a lot of them will disrupt your endocrine system. Yes. You got to be careful about what you put in your body. Check about some of the shots, because they have aluminum that goes through the blood-brain barrier, and that affects the brain. The metals, the heavy metals that are in our bodies, there's like these treatments out there, and I don't know exactly what they're called, but it's a type of detoxification that you could do by putting your feet in a certain bath, and there's people out there that can do that and pull out some of the heavy metals in your body. So there's like detox treatments you can do. Be mindful what you bring into your body. Really look at when they say, this is safe and effective. Just do your own research that it is safe and effective. Those are the things I've been doing.
Wow. Well, that one page you brought up regarding some of the information regarding the vaccines and things of that nature. I mean, to me, at this point, words mean something. And formally, vaccine was supposed to be a protection type of a good thing. At this point, with how misused and abused it's been, I genuinely, it's bad. Vaccine to me means death, means illness, disease, and biowarfare. That's what it means. Like, vaccine doesn't mean, so if we're going to use vaccine, and until it's entirely proved otherwise, but I think we could come up with a new name for it at that point. Why in God's green earth will we continue to use the word vaccine when it's literally been used for the greatest genocide throughout human history to date? And if we don't seek remedy and accountability and shutting down these type of operations, I believe there's worse coming down the pipe. It's only, tyranny's not going to end there.
No,
unless it stops. Unless we unify and we stop it, it's going to continue. And it's no joke. The real things that are being done with insects and the engineering, and then with the food, all these things, like it's not good.
No, it's not good. I do have to run. So I just wanted to reiterate a few things that people should do. Again, pray is very important.
Yes,
but
prayer.
tech precincts local action creates national impact. So whatever that looks like for you, use your talent, your time, and your treasure to do the things that you could do to further help make your city, town, and state a better place to live, work, and play. So that's what I would encourage you. I walk the talk. I walk the walk. I don't just say tell you to do it and don't do it yourself. As a matter of fact, I'll be working my neighborhood this weekend. So I would encourage you to get involved locally. And the way I chose to do it was with precinct committeemen. So that's how I did it.
I love all that you're doing, not just on the platform, the pictures of you showing up to event after event, pictures with General Flynn and so many, just true patriots out there trying to sound the alarm and unify the people to our benefit. It's exciting to see. Clearly, there's a lot of positive momentum and there's more to be had. So no one or everyone, just do not discredit the very impact you could have. And
that's right.
If you have any links, if you want to come tell your story, reach out to unmuzzledchat@gmail.com. I'd love to have you. If you're a little camera shy, it's okay. We could even do a phone recording. Do not discredit the impact you could have. So I look forward.
I mean, this really meant a lot to me that you invited me on your program today.
It was a blessing to me. I know it's a blessing to anyone that stumbles across. I really just hope people can soften their hearts and seek that meekness. It's healthy to question things.
Yes.
Evil is weaponized words such as conspirators, conspiracy, blah, 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 a lot of stuff, word salads, right? To keep us from knowledge and information that will lead to our benefits and breakthroughs and freedoms and getting engaged and creating the proper momentum. I love you all. Evil wants to polarize us against each other based on skin pigmentation. That's a joke. We are all God's children. We bleed the same color. It's shenanigans. Let's end racism by addressing the true racists. Anyway, I look forward to we'll add more links. So send us all the links, Amber, social medias, that one page you brought up. I'd love to add it into the comment section. Other than that, I look forward to more conversation with you in the future. Whatever we could do to magnify what you're doing. And I'm excited for the connections to be had.
Yeah.
So that being said, it was an honor. Thank you so much this takes courage. I know you've been doing it for a while, but
no, it does take courage.
And it's very admirable. And I got a lot of respect for those that, take that leap of faith, because in ways we're painting targets on our own backs, pushing against these narratives. Evil is fighting against. They want to shut us up. And it's just, they can't come after us all. We gain the proper momentum. We are the solutions we're looking for. So with that, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. May our loving Creator, God bless you. Tap into those gifts. God bless this country. Until next time, take care.
Bye-bye.